So this is a very simple project, or it can be depending on which design you choose. I'm using our thick film. It's plastic. If you can't get our film, don't worry, use some other plastic. Just make sure it's cuttable with scissors, strong enough to hold the design in shape, and obviously can't react to the paints. So I'm using our plastic, and with this I'm going to be making a range of Christmas decorations, but all using exactly the same technique. I'm going to make some hangers for the Christmas tree, some light catchers for the window, and even some big hangers to come down into your room. So prepare the plastic. I've taken the white cover off, and it's still got a backing sheet on, and I must ensure that that is at the back. So that still has a clear backing sheet on. That's at the back, and I'll get my design. These are for some light catchers for the window, and I want to waste as little plastic as possible. I'm going to do this robin to start with, so I will just blue tack the design underneath there. You could do both at the same time, but I have already done that one. And I'm going to outline this in black outliner. Now, if you haven't outlined before, we do have specific videos on that. But I'll just show you the basics. I always use a piping bag. And again, we do have a video showing you how to make these. You do get outliners in bottles and tubes. I don't like the tubes. Some of the bottles aren't bad. Just I prefer a piping bag. I find it gives me the most control. So there's my piping bag made. I get my outliner and put it in there. Don't worry, I'm not going to waste any I don't use will go back into the bottle at the end of this session. You'll notice there's a join there. I put that down, fold in the sides, and then roll the whole lot up. By having the joint down, I am now tightening the joint all the time. If it was the other way around, I would open the joint back up again. Now, sometimes you get a little bit coming out at the end because the piping bag's open a little bit, but I haven't, so I'm going to cut a little hole at the end. Always start less. You can always cut more off if you're not happy with it, but you can't stick it back on again. Right, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to start outlining, and it's always done the same. Lift, lift, let it lay down, and then back down yourself. So lift, let it lay down, and then back down yourself. Must admit, I'm actually slightly confused about what some of these lines are for, but I'm sure I'll find out later. I won't make you watch the whole of this video. I will just say outlining is something worth practicing. I've got a little block there. Let me just clear that through. There we go. It's always worth practicing your outlining. It's a very important part of glass painting. And that's the piece finished. Shall leave that to dry until the outline is totally dry, and then it'll be ready for painting. In the meantime, I shall put back into the bottle the unused outliner, which can be used on another day. Right, I should put that to one side. And over here we do have some pieces. Let's put that on a bit of white sheet, which I outlined earlier, and these are now dry and they're ready for painting. Now when I paint, I tend to do it one colour at a time, starting with some of the darker colours, not always the darkest, but the darker colours, and working my way towards the light. I will also say I'm using solvent based paints for these, but I'll show you some examples earlier when I have used water based paints. Whichever you use, particularly the water based, make sure it's a flowing one. It gives a nice smooth finish, but it really doesn't matter whether you use flowing water based paints or solvent based paints. For the colours, traditional red, black. For the white, I tend to use a pearly type paint. I think they call it eggshell white in the Pebeo range. It's actually part of their Prismy range. I find that gives a better finish than the solid white. Anyway, we'll go through this and paint one colour at a time. I'm going to start with the red because that's quite a strong colour. The whole idea of glass painting is that you've made a reservoir, and what you are doing is actually flood filling that reservoir. That gives a nice smooth finish to the paint. You just make sure your work's flat, and you might notice that this bit isn't, and what I will do at the end is put some pots of paint down on it to make it flat whilst this colour dries, and I'll do that each time I leave it to dry. I will just carry on and do all the red on both these pieces and then leave them to dry. Now I think that's all the red done, so I should just make sure that is flat and then leave it to dry. As you can see, I've done the black on Father Christmas here. The paints aren't fully dry, there's no need to wait for them to go fully dry, but they are tacky dry, which means it's okay to carry on with the next bit. I wanted to show you these leaves because I do tend to use a mixture of colours when I do the leaves. I use a lighter green and a darker green. There's no need to stick to single solid colours. Make sure you can see that. That's the darker green going at the lower end and coming up the middle. And while I've got that colour on the brush, I'll just do the other one. There we go. Now I'll change to the lighter green. And finish the leaf. And try not to mix the paints at the moment. I don't want to contaminate one colour with the other. But when I've got this light green on, or enough of it on, there we go, and then hopefully that's enough. Just mix the colours up there. And the same on this side. A little bit out of place there. We'll just catch that. Clean the brush and just lift that bit out. Right, I'm going to carry on and finish these two pieces and then leave them to dry properly. As before, I do have some pieces here I've already completed. Two of the tree decorations and a larger one to hang probably in front of a window but not on the window. Could go on the window, wouldn't make any difference. I just wanted to point out these gaps which haven't been painted. There's no need to cut those out. You obviously want to cut round the piece, but these can stay there. They're going to be clear, they won't be seen, so there's no need to cut out all the little intricate pieces on these gaps. Just cut across. In fact, let's show you what I mean. Let's do that quickly to separate them. And I will cut round. And actually I want to get quite close to the outliner. Again, it's not necessary to get right up to it because nothing will be seen. Remember, this does still have a backing sheet on it, and it will be clearer when that has gone. Now, say for this section here, I'll just go across there and then carry on cutting down. Bit late now, but you have got two choices for the hanger. You can leave a little bit at the top if you want, but for this I'm going to put it through, and you need to work out where, roughly where you want it to hang. Now I have a candle here, ta-da, and I have a needle. I'm going to heat the needle up in the candle, and hopefully when it gets hot enough, that should go straight through. There we go, and there I'll be able to put my hanger. And for that I've got some nice red cotton. Thought that'd be nicer than white. Gives it that Christmassy feel, and I'll be able to thread that straight through that hole. There we go. And that will make my hanger. Right, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to finish all the bits I've been working on, string them all up, and then we can see what they're like in position.